Dear property selling professionals, thank you for downloading this week's bulletin especially crafted for professionals like yourself. By the way, my name is Madam Sophia, the virtual assistant to CTM Joseph NG, your sales and marketing e-coach and e-mentor. Here is an exciting news for you. Seeking silver lining amid property overhang? The Johor government has been urged to be more proactive in encouraging homeownership to overcome the property overhang in the state. Johor Consumers Movement Association Chairman MD Saleh Saidijo said it was disturbing to note that there were more than 70,000 unsold, unoccupied, and abandoned houses around Johor Bahru City and Iskandar, Malaysia. The property glut, however, could be a blessing in disguise to help Johorians own homes, he added. All stakeholders at the federal and state levels must work together to overcome the property overhang in the state, said MD Saleh. Apart from the state government's role in promoting and encouraging homeownership, he called on developers to play their part as well. They, developers, should reduce their profit margin to make these unsold properties attractive to first-time buyers. At the same time, he urged banks to relax their stringent procedures for loan approval. They should introduce a rental ownership scheme for the B40 and M40 groups, to ease their burden of paying the initial deposit, MD Saleh added. Meanwhile, KGV International Property Consultants, SDN BHD Director Samuel Tan Wee Chang said the issue could be tackled with concerted effort by various parties. Local councils can also play a role in resolving the problem. Tan also said that the cooperation of banks, approving authorities, and private developers was needed to resolve the property overhang. Get the property agents in and do promotions, he suggested. To ensure the situation does not recur, Tan said future development projects must be supported by independent market studies. The current problem must be addressed to prevent future issues, but it must be handled well. He stressed that the government must let market forces prevail and only facilitate the process. It was reported that the Johor government would seek the best method to resolve the problem. Menteri Besar Datuk Hasni Mohamad said among the factors contributing to the problem were new homeownership policies and changing terms and conditions under the Malaysia My Second Home program. He added that working with affected developers and introducing rental programs for the younger generation would be among efforts the state government would undertake to address the issue. Source: The Star Papers, November 3, 2021 PS. Have you benefited by this breaking news? To me it is a big yes. It is because we, who are involved in real estate business, will benefit in the long run. Trust me, with the help of the various authorities, both government and non-government bodies, the housing situation will definitely improve in Malacca and other states. Of course we, on our part, should do our very best to reduce the properties glut in Malaysia. Agree or not? Before we part company, may I introduce my colleague Madam Florence, another virtual assistant to CTM Joseph. She will be presenting a free chapter from the book, How to Close Every Sale and Every Time, written by the author CTM Joseph. Until we meet again, I wish you sayonara and happy property selling and renting. Okay, thanks a million.
Chapter 12: The relevant story. Close quote. Use the best story that you have come across, the one which proves that what you are selling has been of the greatest benefit to another individual, another firm, or a number of people. By Alfred Tack in his book, Sell Your Way to Success. As we are almost halfway of this book on closing every sales and every time, it is fitting to introduce yet another chapter. This relevant story close chapter can be best applied when the prospect is hemming and hawing, and they are not sure of going or not going ahead. When faced with such a situation, you simply say, Mr. Prospect, I understand your hesitation. It reminds me of someone else that bought this product a couple of months ago. It's an interesting story. Remember that people like to hear story. And then you tell a story about a person who hesitated about buying a product or service and then decided to go ahead and get it. Later on, this is what happened to them. You then relate these sentences. How fortunate they were. How happy they were. How good it was that they made that decision. By the way, let's pause a while and consider this quote to help reinforce what has said earlier. All right. Thanks. A testimonial close, gathers, also called an anecdotal or case history close, that have evidence to support your claim. This helps to ease a client's fear of making error. These closes let the client that, if Joe of ABC like it must be okay, by Art Linkletter. Now that you have read the priceless quotation by a world's famous sales trainer, Are you ready to continue? Hence, believe me, you can tell a story about a person who hesitate to buy the product or service. In truth, this is what actually happened to them as a result. Really. No jokes. From my experience in the marketplace, I can vouch for this incidence. As a result of not buying the product or services, this is what happened. It cost them this, and later on, they came back, and they said, "Boy, I wish I have bought this the first time around." Either one of these will work. Especially a story that emphasizes how happy a previous customer was because they made the decision. That said, let's scroll down to the important summary. Summary. Not to sound like a broken record, let me distill the entire chapter in a few sentences. Okay. For starters, do recall the words of Alfred Tack in his book, Sell Your Way to Success. Next, be reminded the relevant story close is ideally applied when your prospects are not sure of going or not going ahead to buy. Another fact which must repeated at all cost is that prospects love to hear stories, especially about how some customers bought from you, and they are happy. Finally, do recall this fact that customers sometimes regret for not buying the first time. As we about to close the chapter, some words must be mentioned here. Conclusion. Therefore, to conclude on the relevant story close, I cannot overstress the truth that this form of closing is one of the best. Or maybe the best, if I may say so myself. You ask, why? Simply at a best form of closing with the resistant from your prospect. Trust me, in my years of closing of sales and selling big ticket items, it is best applied. This story is ideally used with the prospect's associates or even competitors. In truth, if you have not used such a closing method, I strongly advise to use this closing method. You can have my guarantee it will work. To wrap up this chapter, I hope you have gained more and better knowledge before reading this chapter. Agree or not? Thanks a million. Hope to see you in the next chapter. End of chapter 12.